Tucson, an Arizona Lotus Corp radio station. You want it? You got it. Reality radio done right. No nonsense, real and raw, just like you like it.
He's corrupt, he's inexperienced, and he lies.
Broadcasting from a broom closet in the Arizona Lotus studios, it's Beef Vegan Presents.
Yo, welcome back to the show. It's Beef Vegan Presents live on Rock 102.1 KFMA, streaming worldwide at KFMA.com on this beautiful Monday, November 24th. Good morning, Kendall.
Good morning.
And good morning, Tucson. Thank you guys for tuning in to this short but jam-packed week. We're going to have a lot of fun this week, Kendall. And thank you for joining me on a Monday.
Yes.
We'll have Rico in a little bit later. He's usually here on Mondays, but he's coming back from New Orleans, and he went to go see Queens of the Stone Age. And
he looks like he had the best time.
Yeah, him and his brother bro down. So I'm so happy for them, and they got to enjoy that. And yeah, I can't wait to hear the report. So around 8 a.m., he may or may not be joining us. On Any Moto is going to be in studio in 8 o'clock hour, because we'll have another edition to tap out and give out to $170 in gift certificates to their fine establishment. On top of that, we have listener bait galore. Just did a Roadrunners game last night. Let's go Tucson. We didn't win that one, unfortunately, but we did win the one on Saturday. We have more games coming up this week. In fact, we have a game on Wednesday. We have a game on Friday. So jam-packed, great hockey action wrapped around Thanksgiving. And I'll be giving away a 4-pack of tickets for the Wednesday night game a little bit later.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got family in town. You got extra tickets.
Technically, yeah. I would assume, or whatever. So, I mean, I had some people come out yesterday. It's good to see everyone that came up and said hi, and let's run it back and do it all over again. I'll also be giving away a pair of tickets for 3 Days Grace. That's a big one. You guys want to see that show? It's part of their Alienation tour when it comes to Arizona next year. And so that's a big deal. We announced that show a couple weeks ago, so I have more tickets to give away for that. And on top of all that, we'll continue our Master of Prizes. And this week, the prize for you to win, to be our Master of Prizes, is a 4-burner propane gas grill. Yes.
Ooh.
That's right.
Those are hot commodities. If you win that, you got to lock her up, because
you'll break into the backyard and steal it.
Yeah, it's propane stealing season.
Oh, yeah?
So,
why? What makes you say that?
We've just had some incidents in the past at my job.
Okay.
And people will repeatedly steal propane.
Yeah. I mean, they call that Texas tea. They don't do that, but I guess it's a fuel, so I could see it. I mean, you can't make meth without it.
I think there might have been like a shortage or something going on last year or the years before. So I don't know if it's still happening or not. I have to look into that.
No, I think it just was added to like the tweaker list of evergreen gold, so meaning like there's the same thing. Anyone who's worked in any kind of trade knows that they have to lock up their tools like crazy, because tools they maintain resale value, so that's something that like tweakers will eyeball. Copper, any types of copper, that's tweaker gold and maintains resale value. So yeah, it's the things that don't lose value once you own it. That tweakers set their eyes on. And propane is one of those things, apparently.
Yeah.
I did have gas is one of those things as well, right? I recall when I was working with my family business, and I loaded up a big casino party in a U-Haul, and drove the U-Haul out to the resort, worked the party, and then on my way back, I'm driving, and we had a full tank of gas in this beast, right? And as I'm driving down, I'm seeing that it's just rapidly dropping down to E, and then it has the, the light go on. I'm like, oh no, I need gas. I ran out of gas. I was fortunate enough to coast into the gas station and pull right up. And so I felt like I had the best luck in the world. I'm like, oh, guys, thank God. Thank God for me. I saved the day, huh? And so I get out, I grab the pump, I put it in, and I start pumping gas, and all of a sudden I start hearing, start splashing out. I'm like, what in the F? I look down, gas is just pouring out the bottom of this thing.
Oh my gosh.
So what happened was, when I was doing this party, tweakers, right? And they, whether or not they're on meth is whatever. You do a crime like this, you're automatically a tweaker, whether you've done meth at all in your life. Tweakers went underneath, cut the gas hose or the line, whatever, and stole gas from the U-Haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a brutal thing. So, propane, gasolina, copper, tools, these are all just, tweaker evergreen gold. They know. That's how they make it.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a gas station where you've had a homeless person open the door for you and act like that's their job?
I mean, isn't that every Circle K in town?
It seems like that
Arizona
became a new service, right? Or Circle K does this. I had a Circle K over the weekend. I'm like, oh, look at you guys are all fancy. You got yourself a doorman. They're like, we've asked him to leave several times, sir. I'm like, I appreciate not touching these handles,
Yeah. Yeah, it works out. Like, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Leave a little tip.
Yeah. So we have so much to get to. It was an eventful weekend for sure. Kendall and I went to Joe Coy.
Yes.
Had a little platonic work date on Friday night.
Yes.
Joe had a fantastic set and is definitely working out material for his next special as he went 40 minutes over.
It was awesome. I was so surprised in so many aspects. He was fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome for everyone in attendance. It was not awesome for the staff at the TCC because I know those guys,
Yeah.
And so I knew what they had to do as well. So I was feeling their pain because the way that they set up the setup, the stage and everything is they put it right there on the ice where the Tucson Roadrunners play. The ice doesn't go anywhere. They put boards over the ice. And Joe made jokes about it and how cold it was.
Yeah.
Because that's the deal. But see, after the show is over, then they got to break down the stage and then convert the seating area back into an ice rink, which takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right. And, they're all staff is lined up, ready to go. And then it's getting pushed back. It's pushed back. And then 40 minutes later, before he gets off the stage, and then he decided to do an impromptu meet and greet, which we weren't invited to.
I noticed that a little bit. I was like, what happened there?
I know. You know what? It's my fault for not being outgoing and social. If I would have reached out to several people who I felt like would have probably been there, I would have been in, or if I would have reached out to Joe's people directly and followed the proper channels instead of just assuming my way in every situation. Because here's what happened. I went to the TCC. I have Kendall with me. I showed off a little bit. I got super VIP parking. Do I not?
Yes. Yeah. It was very elite parking situation.
Yeah. So I get, right there in the loading dock, kudos to Josh and Lisa and everyone at the TCC that allows me to do this. And so when I walk in with Kendall, I'm kind of blowing her mind because we get out of the car, we're parked, not in the parking lot. There's a line like a mile long to get into the parking lot. I was like, we're just going to skip that, go right into the loading dock. And then we walk in through the back door where there's a security guard there sitting there and just doesn't even look at me twice kind of thing. It's like, nah, it's this guy again. Right?
Yeah.
No questions.
Usual riffraff.
Yeah. And so then I walk in and I'm there. We're inside the arena. I'm like, okay, cool. So we enjoy the show. We find our seats. Nothing special on the seats, which is fine, And then at one point, I'm like, I want to grab another drink. So I go up to the bar, be like, hey, you still serving? Like, oh, no, sorry, we stopped serving. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Can I get a water or something? And then she gave me like a bottle of water. And I'm like, how much is it? And she's like, you can have it. And I'm like, oh. I was like, really? Yeah. And she's like, you work here, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, there you go. I'm like, okay, so I'm feeling like super special, right?
Yeah.
And then the show wraps 40 minutes late, and we're walking down and into our little VIP area to make the smooth exit. And before I go, I'm like, hey, you want to talk to Joe? Say hi to Joe? And Kendall's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's walk this way. So we go to walk this way, and I see a security guard that I work with all the time, and I know him and stuff. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, brother? I want to go see Joe. And he goes, no.
Yeah. It was a firm answer.
Yeah. He stands strong on it. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm like, buds with him and stuff. I had him on the show and, it's all good. Can I go this way to go see him? He goes, no. And I'm like, all right. Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
You're like, we're old and tired. You don't have to tell us twice. We're like, we'll beat it.
Yeah.
We just gave in pretty quickly. We're like, all right.
Yeah, I didn't want to fight for numerous reasons. So I talked to the security guard yesterday because I felt really bad about this because I always get weirded out about entitlement moments where I'm feeling like entitled and stuff. And I didn't want to put him in a position to get in trouble, even though I knew that we were good if like Joe's people wouldn't complain that we went back there. But at the same time, I was lazy. I didn't just like reach out ahead of time and say, hey, this is something I might want to do, which I knew that was something I might want to do. But instead, I'm like, I don't need to do the proper protocols. I'll just beef it all the way through.
Right, right. Just winging it.
Yeah.
You also missed my traumatic experience that I had.
What was your traumatic experience?
Oh, see, you don't remember. I do. I'll never forget. And I've not recovered still. And
What's
I don't
that?
know if I'm ever going to be the same ever again. There was a moment after you got hyped up after getting your free water bottle that I got up and went to the bathroom. And I hang up my jacket and forgot that I had my phone in my back pocket. Take my pants down and swoosh straight into the toilet. My phone went.
Is that an F My Life?
Insane.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an FML.
And that was right after you did number 2 violently into the toilet?
No, it was before. I was about to. And what's also crazy about the story to me is that as an instinct, I just reached my hand in there and got it out of the toilet, dude.
Oh.
It's disgusting. I am, again, still mortified. That was my reaction.
Did that ruin your night? Be honest.
It did.
Yeah, you were so focused on that phone.
I get weird.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to touch anything, even though I washed my hands like 10 times and sanitized my phone and washed it. Like,
I didn't want to let you in my car after.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't want you touching the handles. I get it. Yeah.
And now it's not a surprise that I have permanent pink eye. So.
Stop scratching your eye. But well, that was our weekend in a nutshell. Thank you guys for riding out that story. We got a lot to get to, so let's start playing some music. Morning Martin's coming up after Alice in Chains. Tons of giveaways, tons of laughs. Keep it right here. It's Rock 102.1. You know the name of the show. Let's go. Okay, I kind of half lied there for a second. We're live on the podcast broadcast. Well, we did have tons of giveaways. I don't think we delivered on tons of laughs. I don't think we were there, but it's okay. Rico's in studio. He's back from New Orleans. And you were post happy as always. With that, are you going to have like a compilation that you're going to put together of your adventures?
Probably just a lot of photos.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of photos.
Nice. Rock 102.1 KFMA. We're live on the podcast broadcast. Awaiting our guest for this hour. He is author Greg Prato, who we talked to last time because his previous book. He just recently released another one, an autobiography with Ace Frehley. Over his conversations that he's had with Ace Frehley, the legendary Kiss guitarist for, decades. And, of course, Ace unfortunately passed away this year. But what a fantastic book and legacy that he left behind. So we're going to be talking with Greg about some of the, chapters of that book and the wild ride that was, kind of just rising to fame, the rock and roll lifestyle, the journey to sobriety, the conflicts, the resurrection of sorts. Ace Frehley's life, once reading this book, was like, wow, man, this guy literally did it all. And what a wild ride. So we're going to be talking about that on the podcast broadcast. But first, Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover, returned to the stage over the weekend at Camp Nou, right, which is put on by Tyler, the Creator, right? Now, he was on a world tour, and he abruptly canceled his world tour, and nobody really knew why. And Donald Glover broke it down last night in a very hip way, and only how he could do it. This is over like Music Bed, live in front of thousands of people. Listen to this story real quick.
Voted for Where Have I Been monologue.
Now, for real quick, I just want to let you know, I love Donald Glover, right?
Oh,
as the actor, as the creator, and as the musician.
Yeah, who doesn't love Childish Gambino?
I'm the only one. I thought I'm the only one.
No.
Okay.
No, you're not.
Okay, so just doing this world tour. Just having lots of fun. Really loving seeing you guys out there.
I love the music behind it while he's doing it.
I had a really bad pain in my head in Louisiana, and I did the show anyway. I couldn't really see well. So when we went to Houston, I went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, "You had a stroke."
Gosh.
Whoa. Yeah, we're live on the air, but yeah, he revealed he had a stroke.
Terrifying.
Yes. And it was all because he just had a migraine. He couldn't see well, so he wasn't even thinking about that. Listen to this, though. He continues.
And the first thing I thought was like, oh, like, here I am still copying Jamie Foxx.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there, though. His health scares continue, and it's very serious.
That's really like the second thing. The first thing was like, I'm letting everybody down. I know it's not true, but I've broken my foot. I always promised Ireland I'm gonna be there, and I still haven't been. And they found a hole in my heart.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I had this surgery, and then I had to have another surgery. So
he pointed to his head when he said the other surgery.
They say everybody has two lives until they realize.
He messed it up. Walk it back.
Everybody has two lives, and the second life starts when you realize you have one.
Yep.
You got one life, guys.
Wow.
And I gotta be honest, the life I've lived with you guys has been such a blessing. I love seeing and performing for you guys.
Yeah, so there you go.
Oh,
That's
my
a
heart.
big revelation. And now every time I have a headache, I'm freaking out. Like, am I having a stroke right now? You know what I mean?
Am I having a Gambino?
Because he's only 42 now.
Yes,
So-
and I'm older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Completely
don't mean to make
terrifying.
it about me, but yes, that is terrifying. We almost lost Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, and he told the crowd in the pimpest way possible with such a fantastic backdrop of the band.
No,
where I'm
dude,
like, I want to hear that song.
I want a backdrop every time I talk about things now.
Yeah, anything
Yeah.
serious, and I'll give you a backdrop
All right.
whenever you have something serious.
Like
so you let me
indigestion?
know. Huh? Yeah. Like if you tell me
Man,
about
last night,
indigestion,
craving a
hold
Hot
on,
Pocket.
Don't tell me that right now. Like here, in
Oh,
fact, actually,
be
we'll
careful
move the
what you
conversation
wish.
on the podcast broadcast. But Rico's going to give us a revelation over some indigestion he got over the weekend eating in New Orleans. He'll tell us what he ate and what he felt, but in an overly dramatic musical way. YouTube.com/BFegan. More right after Limp Bizkit. Right here. So I got a good one for you.
It better be soulful.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be soulful, right?
With that vocal behind it too.
Oh, we'll be your backup singers. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, is this one soulful?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
Jesus,
racist.
you're too quick, dude. You're too quick.
hey, I love soul. All right.
Yeah.
I love soul. I love disco. I love funk. More than just rock. I love blues.
Okay, and then,
I like it all.
yeah, that's a good
it's got
job
heart
in
behind
naming
it, I
all
like it
genres
all.
of music.
It's like, except country.
Right.
Like everybody else. I like everything except country. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I mean, you're going to be too picky. I'm not going to be able to get anything for you.
Just do your best. Your best is good enough. All
well,
right.
yeah, it's on the fly. We got to get going and, get that story together. Hopefully that story doesn't, mess up now.
Get your Barry White voice going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Get real nice and deep like.
Yeah, this is soulful. The one friend of you. All right. So tell me about your indigestion here, Rico.
So there I was back in the bayou.
Okay.
Beautiful, eccentric, unique, scary, but food heaven. I was in bliss.
Okay.
I had to have me some shrimp etouffee,
Okay.
some boudin,
Okay.
some red rice and beans,
Nice.
some jambalaya,
Oh, yeah.
some boudin balls,
Oh, yeah.
all the fixins.
Yeah, lots of fixins.
I had a lot of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a little scared, but I dove right in,
And
asking the locals, what should I get?
what should you get?
I am hungry, and I'm not here for hot dogs or pizza. I'm here for Louisiana's best,
Okay.
and the best is what they brought. Now it is 2 a.m. I've had 4 sugary daiquiris
Okay.
filled with rum, vodka, tequila, mystery juices, an assortment of things.
That's acidic.
That made my stomach feel a way it's never felt before.
Oh.
But I said to myself, I'm here for one reason and one reason only, to get some of that food that Louisiana serves best.
Yeah,
We're at a restaurant. I eat this food, and I feel something in my head. It's not right. I started to see a little blurry.
Oh, no.
3 hours later, I woke up in an alley.
Oh, no.
Horrible liquids all around me.
Okay.
Bodily fluids. Could be mine, might not be.
Oh, probably
I
not.
wasn't there to ask more questions. All I know is I'm alive. And this is the thing. You have 2 lives. The first one, you say to yourself, I think I have 2 lives. And the second one is when you realize you have 1.
Nope, that's not how the saying goes at all.
That's how it is for me.
Okay, we
That's
messed that up. Okay. All right, we're back on the air. Rock 102.1 KFN. Let's pop in our guest here who's been patiently waiting while Rico tried to spitball this.
For that. Wow.
Yeah, he stayed for that. So
thank you.
I'm very
It's a
appreciative.
litmus test.
Yeah, because today on the show, we've got a guy who spent decades talking to some of the biggest names in rock, as you know, because it's the second appearance here. And one legendary spaceman in particular, author and music journalist Greg Prato is here, and he just released a brand new book called Talk to Me, Conversations with Ace Frehley. Good morning, Greg. Thank you for joining us again.
Hello, thank you for having me back on. I appreciate it. I just want to tell you up front, I'm a little bit, I have a bit of a cold, so if my voice sounds weird, just pretend like I don't have a bad voice.
I want to tell you up front that I am not sick, and this is how I normally sound. So we're good, dude. We're golden.
We're
If
fine.
worst comes to worst, we'll answer for you. You can just lip sync to what we're saying.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that. Now, actually, last time we were talking to Greg, he told us that he had this book he was working on, and obviously Ace Frehley just passed away unexpectedly. It was pretty rapid, but Greg has developed a relationship with him over the years, which documented beautifully in this book. So when he passed away, then you made it essentially your goal. You're like, I have to do this book for him right now, right?
Yeah, what happened was after he passed away, it definitely saddened me. And also, like you said, it was a total shock. Like no one was really expecting it because he was playing shows up until I believe September. He was playing shows still, and he had more shows throughout the rest of the year. So, just, when I found out that he passed away, it was definitely sad. But then I got to thinking like how many times I was lucky to speak to him over the years for magazines and sites and some of my books. So I went back and looked at all the interviews, and we covered a wide variety of topics. So I realized that would be a good basis for a book. And then I'm lucky that I've built up a lot of relationships with pretty well-known rock people over the years. So I reached out to people like Kim Thayil from Soundgarden. I reached out to also Eddie Trunk and also several other people and I did all brand new interviews as tributes to Ace with people talking about how they were either influenced by Ace, their favorite performances by Ace, like what he was like a person to hang out with, all these things. Yeah, so that's what this book, Talk to Me, Conversations with Ace Frehley, is all about.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful book, too, because it serves as both like a tribute and like a time capsule at the same time, capturing all these different things. When you first talked to Ace, did you hit it off with him right away? Did you guys have a good, rapport?
Yeah, I was lucky. The first time I ever spoke to him was actually face-to-face. I would say 95% of the interviews I do are like this, either through Zoom or through phone. But this was back in 2009, and it was before even Zoom really even came about, I believe. So I went into Manhattan and we did a face-to-face interview. It was in a rehearsal space type thing. It was affiliated at the time by, I believe, Gibson Guitars. I don't know what it was. I forget what it was called. I don't think it's even really, I don't think it is around anymore. But it was a face-to-face interview. It was for a full hour. He and I just sat across from each other. We were talking. And it was great. It went absolutely great. And then from there, I was lucky to interview him between 5 and 10 times over the years. I was lucky to speak with him as many times as I did.
Yeah, nice. Now in the book, he's very self-deprecating and it comes across super humorous in person. Did you feel that? Was he hilarious all the time and always dropping that self-deprecating humor?
Yeah, one thing that was great about Ace is he never took himself too seriously. And you could say Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley maybe fall a little bit victim to that. They do take themselves maybe a little bit too seriously sometimes.
Oh, yeah, some would say that.
Yeah, no, Ace was just he was a great personality. After he passed away, a lot of people are going back and watching some of his old videos. There's a classic interview, which if you're not familiar with this, I recommend. It's from 1979. They were on a TV show called The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. And Tom Snyder was an older gentleman. that would have like a wide variety of people on, but he wasn't very up to date with like, rock bands and things like that. But the full Kiss band comes on. They all have their makeup on, their costumes, and Ace is drunk out of his mind, and he's just like making jokes and laughing and saying some kind of racy jokes that I don't think even that the guy Tom Snyder even knows what the hell he's even talking about.
Yeah,
you could tell he's laughing so hard, and Gene and Paul are really pissed off at Ace because they thought this was their big opportunity to come off as like very serious businessmen that are very straight and narrow, and they're very serious. And there is Ace just poking fun at everything and making fun of everyone. It's really great to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, you also covered like the relationship that Ace had with Gene and Paul in particular. I mean, he was kicked out of the band a couple times, right?
Well, one thing that I mentioned this to him once or twice. He was always very clear to point this out. He was never kicked out of the band. The 2 times he left totally on his own accord.
Right.
He left first in 1982 because he even admits he was really bad off at that point with drugs. He said, if I didn't leave at that point, I definitely would have died. And he was right, because a few months after he left, he was in a serious car chase with cops. It was in the summer of '83. In fact, he writes about this in a song called Rock Soldiers on his first Frehley's Common album.
Yeah.
And he almost he wound up there's been conflicting reports if he was driving the wrong way down a one-way street and trying to elude cops and things like that. I don't know what the exact specifics were of the chase, but yeah, he almost killed himself then. And then when he rejoined the band in 1996, he left in 2002. And I think, again, it was one of those situations where he was getting bad with drugs. But to his credit, after he left Kiss, he got sober, and he was, to the best of my knowledge, sober from like the mid 2000s up to when he passed away.
Yeah, and his sobriety is like a major thread throughout this entire book too, which is good too and inspiring. But also, like, when you're reading this, you don't realize, like, man, Ace Frehley lived the antithesis, or even to an extreme, the rock star life. His life was wild. Yeah. And the fact that he even lived to an older age to find sobriety, because he should have died like Nikki Sixx style several times over. Way even before. He's just like, you know what, it's enough is enough. He's already lived like 10 lifetimes by the time he's done that, right?
Yeah, one of the gentlemen I spoke to for this book is David Ellefson, the former bassist for the band Megadeth, and he had a great quote that Ace died when he was 74 years old. 74 years old in Ace Frehley years is like 150 years in just like regular human being years.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 74 is 40 years beyond life expectancy in the way that he lived life and becoming a rock star. So we're going to be talking more Ace Frehley with author Greg Prato. Talk to Me. The story of Ace Frehley is a book that's available right now, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's available as Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and very soon a audio version as well.
I love that. Yeah, we're continuing to talk to Greg on the podcast broadcast. Be back with more after music from Lenny Kravitz on Rock 102.1 KFMA. Clear. All right, yeah. Because again, we're just scratching the surface of this, and it'd be wild if they turn your book into a movie, because it kind of reads like a movie as well, and it goes through that. I mean, if you do you imagine that when you kind of write a book like this and you're trying to capture all the stories, conversations we had, and retell it in a way that's also first person?
There are books of mine that I think would make fantastic movies. There's a book I did many years ago called The Devil on One Shoulder and an Angel on the Other, which is about Shannon Hoon from the band Blind Melon. And that book, I think, is just a movie waiting to happen, but so far no one's ever gotten in contact with me. Again, and then there's a second book I did called Touched by Magic, the Tommy Bolin story. And Tommy Bolin was a guitarist in the 70s who everyone thought was going to be like the next huge guitarist. He was in the James Gang for a while. He was in also Deep Purple for a while. And he died under very, very mysterious circumstances. Some people thought it was a drug overdose, but people that were in the room in a hotel room with him that night says that he was supposedly murdered. So that I think would be also a very interesting book. So those books today, I think, may be better than this Ace Frehley book. But yeah, I mean, if someone was interested in doing this book about Ace, that would be great. But I think those other two books really are just like complete movies waiting to be made.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the Shannon Who movie would be fascinating, for sure. And I had a friend of mine, a musician, who kind of had similarities to his passing that you were describing, and that musician, which again, still a mystery and still enrages me when I think about it. You know, there's a couple things that stood out in the book that I thought was funny. Like, you never know. Like sometimes some of the greatest pieces of art are done out of spite. And then Ace talked about like being insulted by Gene and Paul,
right?
And that led to his first solo album, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a famous story. Well, not a famous story, but a story he talks about in the book that in 1978, for people who don't know, Kiss decided they wanted to take a break, but what they were going to do is that all the four members were going to make their own solo album. They were all going to release it on the same day in late 1978. And they had a business meeting right before they were each going to go their separate ways to start working on their solo albums. And at the very end, Gene and Paul turned to Ace and said, "Oh, and by the way, Ace, if you need any help with your solo album, don't even like hesitate to call us. We'll come and help you out if you want." And he was like, "Oh, you know, you guys can go fuck yourselves." I mean, he would say it out loud, supposedly, but he was like, so he took that as like a dig, and that supposedly spurred him on to do his solo album. And his solo album is, I think, by far the best of the four. So it's actually a good thing that they did that. Yeah, his solo album was the only solo album to spawn a hit single, which was the song New York Groove.
Yeah, that's funny too.
And Gene loved that, I'm sure.
Yeah, did he have the opportunity to turn around and be like, "Hey, next time you guys write a solo album, if you need any help, I got you," right?
Yeah, he should have.
Yeah. I'm sure he did. Yeah. You know, what was one of when you're going through, because I'm sure you record all of your conversations and interviews, right? And so when you're going through, I'm sure you're being reminded, like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." What was the story that you stuck out to you that when you were listening back to the tapes that you completely forgot about, that you're like, "Oh yeah, this is gold"?
Well, you know, one thing that I made, it's not so much I forgot about it, but I was kind of reminded about going back and listening to things. I think I was one of the only writers that ever asked Ace on more than one occasion what the story is with if he owns his makeup, or if Kiss owns it now, because the whole thing is for many years, Kiss couldn't do anything with Ace's makeup design, because when he left the band, he actually retained the rights to it. Peter Criss, on the other hand, sold his rights, so Gene and Paul own that. So what happened was in the 90s, I think the story goes, when Ace rejoined Kiss for their first reunion tour, part of the agreement was he had to give them the rights to his makeup design. But according to Ace, I think what took place is he gave it to them, what's called in perpetuity, which means that's from now till the end, but he gets some kind of cut. So like whenever there's a piece of Kiss merchandise that has his makeup on it, he gets a cut of that. Unlike, and this is unlike Peter Criss, who I don't think gets like anything because he just signed it away and didn't work out any kind of deal. So that to me, so that's like my understanding of it.
He was smarter in his licensing and everything. So when like Tommy Thayer kind of like replace him? Wear his makeup.
For instance, before Ace signed that agreement, Kiss couldn't have someone come out and tour as him with the same makeup and everything like that. After Ace signed that agreement, then they could do that.
You know, and that makes sense too, because, you know, that's the beauty of Kiss. And, you know, you mentioned it last time we were talking to you, and I've heard this be repeated by many other people, saying that Kiss was their introduction into heavy metal and rock music. And if it wasn't for Kiss, they wouldn't be fans of like Metallica or, you know, Nirvana, that's grunge. But in metal bands in general, like the Kiss gets a lot of credit for really opening up that curiosity and people. But it makes so much sense for the band to have the face paint as branding, and Paul and Gene were very smart about that. And then Ace was smart to be able to protect it, because he's like, wait a second, anyone wears this face can then pretend to be me and deceive a majority of the audience, because there wasn't like HD LED screens. You just see him from afar and be like, yeah, that's Ace Frehley, right?
Yeah, well, you know, to give Ace credit, no matter how bad off he was with drinking and drugs, he was always with it enough to realize, like, I'm not just going to sign this away, you know? So you got to give him credit that he always was at least conscious. He was conscious of what was at stake, and he didn't just, you know, throw things away, you could say.
Yeah. Did he tell you how long and how many times it took him to come up with that iconic spaceman design?
No, you know, he never told me how long it took for him to come up with it. But like, if you look at old pictures of them, it definitely took a little while. But like, because at first he had the things around his eyes, but it wasn't like the white. It was just like his regular face. It was just like his like regular skin color.
Yeah.
They had a gentleman that used to work with them who's pretty much forgotten from the Kiss story. His name is Sean Delaney. He's a guy who he was hired by Kiss's manager, who his name was Bill Aucoin, and they were both actually gay gentlemen. I believe they were like a couple, and he hooked up with Kiss, and he was the one that said, "Look, all you guys have to have like the white makeup as the back, then your design over that." He said, you all have to have the same matching black hair. It all has to be similar to the Beatles. It has to be like all matching, a whole similar unified look. He also went with them in a rehearsal studio and had them work on like their stage moves. There's famous stage moves they used to do. Like they would all like rock back and forth with guitars in time. And he also even co-wrote some of their songs with them, produced some of their albums. And then what's sad is that at some point, I think this guy, Sean Delaney and Bill Aucoin broke up as a couple in 1979, 1980, around that point. And then you just never heard from him ever again. He wound up dying many years later. So it's sad that he just like totally forgotten, and he was such a big part of the Kiss story, you know. And it's weird too that like no other band would have ever sought his help with either production or managing or something like that. You know, it's definitely one of those weird head scratching moments.
Right. Yeah, that is. Oh, that's not the picture I'm trying to pull up. Sorry, that's Donald Glover. This is the picture. Yeah, here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, which is iconic and probably one of my favorite like Kiss paint designs next to Demon. I mean, I'll give Gene his flowers. On that. Yeah, and nobody really likes Peter Criss's face makeup. Right? Am I right?
Well, you know, one that I can never really understand is Paul Stanley just had one single star in his eye. I don't understand why it wasn't 2 stars, because everyone else had 2 things on their eyes.
I felt like that was Paul just separating himself from the group, like I'm the star kind of thing. I always looked at it as like that was the metaphor, you know. Now you talk about the relationship that these guys had over the years, and Ace like loving the chemistry the band initially had when they're, you know, early on, but of course success changes everything. You know, when do you feel like when he passed away at 74 that he had a better appreciation for the relationship he had over the years with the guys, or do you think he was over it completely? Like basically, like fuck them all.
Oh, you mean what? No, you said when he passed away in 1974. You meant when he?
No. Yeah. I didn't know when he passed away in 74. When he passed away at 74.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. Do you think like he appreciated and loved his brothers in arms, or did he kind of pass away with being like, I hate those guys?
No, I think that he was pretty forgiving, and you know, I think he went through, I believe, like the 12 steps of sobriety and all that stuff. And it seems like with some people, when they go through that, they realize like it's not worth it to keep all this extra baggage and stuff like that. And I don't think he didn't really hold a lot of things in. Like I know over the years, Gene and Paul were very vocal about like saying things about Ace and Peter, even going as far as trying to hint like that their contribution was in some way not as big as theirs, which is total hogwash. Without those 4 members, you would have never had the original Kiss. But yeah, I mean, Ace, he would always. There's actually one great quote he told me, which is in the book, which is towards the end of his last time when he wound up leaving Kiss, was that one of the reasons why he left was because Gene and Paul were making him crazy, and then he turns around and say, "But I also know that I was making them crazy." And that's something that I don't think you would ever hear Gene and Paul say something like that, you know, that you could see that it was like a 2-way street, and it wasn't just, you know, them, that, you know, it was like a whole, the famous saying that it takes 2 to tango type of thing, you know.
An inkling of humility from their side, impossible.
Yeah, not gonna no, it's not on brand, that's for sure. We were talking with author Greg Prato, author of the book "Talk to Me: Conversations with Ace Frehley," available everywhere that you can get books and audio versions as well. Now, you know, Ace's honesty kind of jumps off the page, right? So when you started talking with him, was he always this unfiltered? Did it seem like every time was one of those? Since you've interviewed so many people, right? Do you feel like it was effortless to talk to Ace, and you felt like he was going to give you just straight up honesty, no BS every time you talk with him?
No, he always was a great interview. And there was even once, I remember, one of the last times I spoke with him, he even said something that I was like, Jesus, do you realize like what you're saying right here? He was talking about a song on his last solo album called Cherry Medicine was the name of the song. And he's talking about it. He's like, yeah, and, you know, the song also has like a double meaning. I used to drink this cough syrup like that. I would go into clubs with this cough syrup that was cherry flavored, and I would pour it into some seltzer and mix it up, and I would drink that, and people would think I'm drinking cranberry vodka or cranberry something, but meanwhile I'm drinking cough syrup mixed with seltzer, which means and I feel like saying, do you really want people to know that you were abusing cough syrup? But he was very open about sharing the truth, so.
He was ahead of his time.
Exactly.
Because now they're just like, that's what all the hip hop guys were doing. They're just mixing it with Sprite and stuff. And,
right. Yes.
Getting high off cough syrup.
Right.
And everyone that accidentally OD'd on NyQuil knows how trippy that could be. And pretty hardcore, too, with cough syrup. He was robo-frying in the clubs.
Yeah.
Before it was
Way
a thing.
Ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time, dude. It's amazing. Now, okay, so when you talked to him initially when you met him, he was still partying pretty hard, right?
When I met him, I think he had just gotten sober, because what happened was he left Kiss for the last time in 2002. You didn't really hear about what he was up to for the next few years, except for maybe like one or two appearances here and there. Then he came back in 2009. When I spoke with him, he had just gotten sober. And then from that point on, and I even mentioned this to him once, and he said I was right, that it seemed like he was trying to make up for lost time. He put out, I believe, 6 albums from 2009 to when he passed away. Mm-hmm. And if you compare to what Kiss did in that time period, Kiss only put out, I believe, 1 album in that whole entire time period. So, and I once asked him, I said, are you making up for lost time? And he said, yes, absolutely, I am. So to his credit, the last few years were very productive for him.
That's great, though. I mean, such a musical outlet. I'm sure that was food for his soul and probably added to the years. I mean, his passing away was so unexpected too.
Yeah.
Something
else is like I was lucky to see him live like over the last 10 years, about maybe like 4 times, and I got to say he was still playing very good. Singing wise, he would even admit he was never like a great like Freddie Mercury type singer, but he still sounded good. It wasn't like you wouldn't hear it and be like, oh my God, he sounds awful. And again, his playing was good. He was also very smart that he would always have very good backing bands, like musicians that were with him. Mm-hmm. So he was smart in that aspect to surround himself with with always very good bands as well.
Yeah, well, and I mean, he had a harmony that wasn't flashy but melodic to the band. That honestly, Kiss would not have been the powerhouse they were without all those pieces in place. And they know now in retrospect, but anyone that knows like the music industry knows that chemistry is so important. You take one piece out, it kind of affects it. And honestly, they're iconic songs that the Kiss Army love hardcore. I mean, majority of them, if not all of them, were with the original 4, right?
Yeah, no, they were. And something that was also great about Ace, that he was he's listed by a lot of top guitarists as a big influence. Like Dimebag Darrell listed him as one of his top influences. Tom Morello, Kim Thayil from Soundgarden. But one thing that was great about Ace is that he was similar to a David Gilmour of Pink Floyd or to Brian May of Queen, that his solos were kind of like little mini songs within a song, meaning that a lot of his solos you could sing along to. They were very, very melodic.
Yes.
It wasn't like a shredder just playing like 1,000 notes a minute and you can't even like hum or sing what the hell they're saying. A lot of his solos are really songs within a song, you could say.
Yeah, the songs, solos were like hooks in themselves, for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
We're talking with author Greg Prato, author of Talk to Me, the story of Ace Frehley, or Conversations with Ace Frehley. And that's available everywhere. We're going to continue this conversation on the podcast broadcast, youtube.com/beefvegan. Clear. All right, yeah. We're doing good on time.
It seems like, coming from an outside perspective of somebody that's not grown up as a huge Kiss fan, vaguely familiar with the hits and everything like that, it seems like if one was to get into it, Ace Frehley's the guy you gravitate towards as being the guy that like makes you like them versus the rest.
Yeah, I agree. He was a very likable fellow, you could say. Yeah, like even if you go back and watch like a lot of his interviews, he always comes off very likable and laid back. He's never putting on a show or putting on an act. Whereas I guess Gene and Paul, if you watch their interviews, it's almost like it's a pre-written script sometimes when you see them being interviewed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm sure that's why they butt heads a lot too.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, you got to play your part, man. He's like, I'm just being cool.
Exactly.
It's cool to see all these like guitar gods that worshiped Ace Frehley and said he was the man. It's great to get those kind of flowers, like Joe Bonamassa, right? Where he's one of those guys where guitarists, Noah Joe, he's traveling all over the place. He sells out arenas just from his guitar work. And
I saw his sign for in New Orleans. He's coming up to the singer.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's one of those things too where like Joe. I mean, I honestly didn't grow up listening to Joe. I didn't realize that. I'm just like, how's this guy just selling out the largest rooms in the world?
Right.
But he is largely considered one of the greatest guitarists of a generation. What was his relationship and admiration to Ace, and was he excited to talk to you about Ace?
Yeah, I was going to say Joe is the first person I actually spoke to for this book, and Joe is primarily he's not so much a rock guitarist. He's really, you could say, blues based. Yeah. But he talked about how, like me and like many other people, his first introduction to rock music was kind of through Kiss, and it wasn't even through the music. It was when he was in grade school, seeing people with Kiss lunchboxes. He was talking about, which is similar to my experience with Kiss. I got turned on to them by going to the bus stop, and a gentleman that was a year older than me had Kiss trading cards. So it's like funny how people get into Kiss. It's not through the music, but that what even makes it even more funny is now at my age, I could care less about what they look like and the merchandise. It's all about the music with them. And Kiss in the 70s, I think, are very highly underrated songwriters. Again, people kind of wrote them off because of their stage show, their makeup, their costumes. But if you go back and listen to some of their albums in the 70s, I think you'd be pretty impressed with how well a lot of those things hold up and how well it sounds, a lot of those songs.
Yeah, when it was really about the music too. I mean, again, they had that magic chemistry, and they tinkered with it over the years and whatever. Their work when they were messing with that chemistry definitely showed. But they still created timeless music in a time where it was like lightning in a bottle, which is a beautiful thing to witness, and it's why their fan base is so rabid even today. And that army is legitimately a large army. Which band do you think directly can thank Kiss for all their success, for being directly inspired and basically taking that playbook and emulating it afterwards? So who would you consider is under that kind of Kiss umbrella? Without Kiss, this band would not exist.
Probably a Motley Crue, you could say, is a obvious one. Maybe also Rob Zombie, like a lot of the bands that do like the whole makeup thing. Slipknot to a certain degree, but not like total.
I was thinking Slipknot,
ICP. Yeah. Because
I was thinking ICP, honestly.
Yeah. Because I was going to say Slipknot, though. It's not just Kiss. I always thought there was another band that never gets the recognition for being such an influence or inspiration for Slipknot. A band called Mr. Bungle, which included Mike Patton from the band Faith No More. Their early tours, they would play in actual masks, and then I know that Slipknot were fans of that band. So I think that Slipknot may have been a mixture of maybe Kiss with also Mr. Bungle, but Motley Crue being the most obvious one. There's also a band in the 80s called Wasp. They were also a very theatrical band. That's also a direct influence from Kiss. So but really to me, I think Motley Crue, if you watch some of their early shows, like they and Wasp too, they all do the same blood thing. They're drooling blood. They have makeup on. They have costumes. So that I think was a very obvious thing right there.
I also think Kiss has the most influential cover band. I wanted to ask if you're familiar with Mini Kiss, and if Ace ever brought them up, and if he was flattered by that, or what his thoughts were of Mini Kiss.
I never got a chance to ask about Mini Kiss, but for people who don't know who Mini Kiss is, it's a Kiss tribute band performed by quote unquote little people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It's amazing. I mean, it's such an iconic brand though,
Right.
I mean, and that was what they were so far ahead of their time on too. And what a great way to just get a fan base curious, or be, create fans before they even hear the music. And then the music hooks them in too. So it's fascinating. The conversations, it's so great that you were able to document these over the years to put this book together. As it's a beautiful homage to someone that you've obviously looked up to, and you can tell because your book comes off as like a multi-decade like emotional arc, and so you kind of feel your connection with Ace through your retelling his stories for him. So I just want to give you props for a job well done on that. It's got to feel good. When you read it through and you did all your typo corrections and everything an author does, right? Do your proofreading and stuff. Do you walk away feeling like really proud of this piece of work?
Yeah, I mean, this book, I really had no idea I was going to do. Like, that's like funny. Like, I've noticed over the years, like there's some books that just come out, like I don't expect to be doing, but just the circumstances lead me to do them. If you told me 2 or 3 months ago I would be doing a book about Ace Frehley, I would have never thought I would be. But just after his passing, and after me realizing all the interviews I did with him and how I'd like to pay tribute to him, and also, being able to speak to as many people as I did with these brand new interviews with Eddie Trunk, Kim Thayil from Soundgarden, David Ellefson from Megadeth, Joe Bonamassa we just talked about before. And also something else, I was able to get a lot of rare photos from a lot of photographers that really are through Ace's whole entire career. So you have it from early in Kiss all the way through him with no makeup, also with the Kiss reunion, and even pictures that I was lucky to take over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's a pretty, so I'm definitely happy with how it came out. But part of me wishes I didn't have to write this book. I wish that Ace was still with us,
Yeah. But again, I mean, you documented also like his wildness from early life, and honestly, the fact that he made it that far was a miracle in itself. And we're back on the air, Rock 102.1 KFMA, talking to author Greg Prato. I apologize for the little bit of dead air that probably happened there because I was caught up in the conversation and wasn't keeping an eye on that. But this book, for any Kiss fans or even just fans of rock and roll biographies, of lifestyle and how, this, I felt like it was a great way to capture just a wild ride, and a ride that, led to evolution and self-awareness and growth and maturity and appreciation, all that's kind of captured throughout this. And, Ace's personality and voice, kind of come through in this, so I think you did an excellent job again, capturing this and being able to tell Ace's story like it was Ace telling this story.
Thank you. Yeah. How the book is set up. The first half are all the interviews I did with him. So like you said, it's all him. It's really his voice. Then the middle are all the pictures, and then the second half are all the brand new interviews I did with the people that were either influenced by Ace or friends with Ace. So thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it.
Of course, dude. Well, it's always a pleasure talking with you. This is our second time talking with Greg, and I love that you are like a true rock and roll historian. The conversations that you've had with these legendary musicians bring like fantastic insight. And so, anyone who's a fan of this type of reading, wants to know about an icon in rock music, I encourage you to pick up Talk to Me. Conversations with Ace Frehley, available everywhere you get books, and then soon the audiobook. Now, what's the deal with the audiobook? Who's doing the audio? Well, you got that recorded? What's going on?
Yes, it's already recorded, and it is actually me who does it. So you get to enjoy my sweet Long Island accent during that. And I was able to record it before this horrible cold that I have. So
you don't sound that bad.
I was going to say I should have waited to do the audio version now because I would have sounded like a frog. That would have been a pretty good gimmick to do it, right?
Yeah. Now, do you include any audio clips from your actual conversations with Ace? Because you still have those, right?
Yeah, no, I don't, because, like, for instance, during a conversation, and it's not just Ace, it's anybody, you'll say, like, and, but, and so, so
he wasn't
so much
recording it for
that it wouldn't just flow like a regular conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I would edit the hell out of it. You could do that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could, but it'd probably take me about maybe 2 years to get it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's the deluxe edition, on anniversaries and whatnot. Which I mean, Kiss, I'm sure has another monumental anniversary coming up, right? I mean, initially the band started in what year?
They started. Ace joined the band, I believe, in early '73. They put out their first album in early '74.
Yeah. Yeah, so I missed 50-year anniversary then. Yep. That's math. Yeah.
Good math.
Thank you. I know. Follow me for more math. Speaking of which, Greg, where can everyone follow you so they can get more information on the book and everything else that you're doing?
Sure. Well, the best place to go to check out my books is, of course, Amazon.com. Just do a search for Greg Prato. And then I'm always posting my latest articles and interviews and also book info on X. So if you go to x.com/Greg Prato Writer. That's the best place to check out my latest writing. So Amazon and X, those are the two best places.
Nice. And when you click on Greg's profile, now if you click on info, you can see that he's located in America and he's not a foreign actor trying to sell you bogus info on rock and roll history. Just, current events. Authentic. I wanted to tie in together.
Circle back.
Yeah. Author Greg Prato is our guest on the podcast broadcast. That's all the time that we have on the FM side. We'll do a couple more minutes with Greg, but again, thank you for joining us, Greg, and thank you everyone for listening. Tomorrow, we're going to continue to give out tickets for 3 Days Grace, also your Tucson Roadrunners, and another password so you could win that 4-burner propane grill and be our master of prizes for week 2. Speaking of that password, keep listening here because at 1:15, we'll give you another opportunity to qualify to win. Till then, enjoy the rest of your day. Drive safe, ride safe, and as always, rock local. Later. Clear. Nice. Yeah, I looked, I was like, I got a 6-minute commercial set. And radio people are like, they're like, I wonder why ratings it's so tough to get people to listen to radio. I don't know. Why don't you do fucking an hour worth of commercials and see how well that works?
Yeah, I was going to ask one small request. I'm always a huge fan of answering some of the people's questions as far as the comments. Are there any questions or any comments? Or
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, this is the time. As we got our comments going live on the stream. Same thing for you, Rico and Kendall. Is there any questions that pop up in your mind?
I got my mini kiss question out of the way. I was also, this question we can skip it. I don't think it's gonna.
No, come on, go ahead. Come on, do it.
Okay. Peer pressure. If you only had 3 words to describe Ace throughout all the conversations you've had, what are the top 3 words that come to mind?
I would say honest, funny, and let me think of a third thing. Insightful. How about that?
Aw,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because it seemed like every time we talked to you, it was just like no holds barred. Like, ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. Tell no lies kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's sad after someone passes away, you kind of like see them for who they really were. And, Ace was not a perfect person. I think he would even tell you that. But you do see a lot of his interviews. I think he had a pretty big heart, and I think he really did care for people. And, it's really nothing he did that. Again, he wasn't perfect. Like, I'm not going to start, of course, when people pass away, suddenly they're put on a pedestal and,
Right.
They never committed a sin and their farts smell beautiful. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like Kendall
he was a fantastic guitarist, very influential, a great artist. Absolutely.
Now, what were some of the bands and artists that he was a fan of? Did he ever tell you about that?
Yeah, Led Zeppelin, I think, was his favorite band, and he was a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. He told me a great story, which is in the book. He, in 1970, went to a rock festival that was at Randall's Island, which is it's right off of Manhattan in New York City. And he was just walking around, and he said this was back in the days of rock concerts where they didn't have like a lot of security. So he sees there's an entrance to go backstage and there's no one there. So he just walks by there. He's walking around backstage like he, is like he should be there. And a guy walks up to him and he's like, wait a second, who are you? And he goes, oh, to be honest with you, I'm just a guy. He's like, well, what do you do? Can you like, is there any kind of thing you can do? And he says, well, I can help set up drums. So he says, all right, follow me. And he helped set up Mitch Mitchell's drums, which was Jimi Hendrix's drummer. So he set up the drums.
The good old days, man.
Shake Jimi Hendrix's hand as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he inadvertently became a roadie. And sometimes you got to be in the right place at the right time. And just wander back where you were. There was a relationship with a concert promoter, Danny Zalisco, who's done very well for him in the Southwest and kind of did the same thing to Bill Graham. And went backstage and was just kind of being like a nosy kid. And that's how he got into the music industry and promoting. That's so wild. It's a similar kind of story.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. So he always like looked up to Hendrix, and to be able to meet someone like that and then shake his hand,
it was about 2 months before Jimi Hendrix died too, because Jimi Hendrix died in September of 1970, and that show was July of 1970.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's great. So then he's directly influenced by Hendrix as well. Then, but I mean, is any rock guitarist not somehow, right?
Yeah, I mean, most guitarists, especially from say the late 70s up till now, and not like the late 70s through the 90s, maybe early 2000s, just about every single guitarist listed Ace or Kiss as their kind of gateway into music, and also like the rock music, and also rock and also playing rock guitar as well.
Did he ever share with you any bands that came after Kiss that he was a fan of and felt that might have been influenced by him?
Well, he said that after Dimebag passed away, that he went back and listened to Pantera, and a lot of Dimebag's guitar solos definitely impressed him. So he was one that he was definitely a fan of his. As far as any other modern guitarists or bands, he didn't really say anything like that. I'm trying to think of other bands he told me that he liked. Well, he put out 2 albums over the last 10 years that were covers of bands that he was a fan of. So he covered bands like Cream, he covered the Kinks, Rolling Stones. So like if you go back, it's called Origins Volume 1 and Origins Volume 2. So those are 2 albums. If you go back and check out some of those songs, you'll definitely be able to find out some of the bands and artists that he was definitely influenced by, and also a very big fan of as well.
Yeah. Oh, no. Is he a fan of collecting his own merch?
I don't think so. No, I don't think he was. I mean, I'm sure he definitely enjoyed taking a cut of the earnings, but he was never. He never struck me as business minded as much as Gene and Paul were. But of course, he wasn't stupid. He definitely was willing to take a cut of it, though.
Yeah.
Get his.
Yeah, but he didn't have his own dolls. He wasn't playing band practice with dolls in the background.
I don't think so.
Went to work with the Kiss lunchbox.
No.
He's like, Greg, 1 second. Let me finish this fight.
Yeah. Or no, like, let me just grab a sip out of my thermos. My Kiss, little famous thermos. Yeah.
Kicks up the Kiss shoes on the desk. All right, ready.
No, I know. I mean, they're all legendarily tall in the boots and everything. Yeah. Was he a tall man without the boots?
He was tall. In fact, there's a picture in the inside the book of me and him when we did that face-to-face Q&A, and he has his what do you call it, arm around me, and he's definitely taller than me, like by several inches. I'm just about 6 feet tall, so he must have been over 6 feet.
Yeah.
So and then plus with also the platform boots, he's probably close to maybe 7 feet, right? Something like that.
Yeah, all these guys in Kiss, they're big, big guys, right?
Yeah.
Are they all from Detroit?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
The only ones that were short were their drummers. Peter Criss was a short gentleman. Eric Carr was short. I don't know about Eric Singer, but Gene and Paul are tall people as well.
Yeah, that's why they made Peter Criss be a pussycat. It's like, this little kid. Yeah, so those 3 guys, though, in a bar fight are going to mop up the majority. Did he have any fights of, like, being, scrappy when he was younger? Or give you any, allude? Because I'm sure when they were young on the road, they have some conflicts with people, with Gene just talking, and then they got to back it up. Did he have any of those kind of stories?
Yeah, he never told me that he got into a fight with any of his Kiss members or anything like that, but he did tell me that as a young person, he was in a gang. He grew up in the Bronx, which especially back then, the Bronx was a very, very tough place. And he was a member of a gang called, I believe, the Ducky Boys, I think was the name of his gang. And
those gang names back then, man.
Yeah.
Snapping and stabbing. Yeah.
And he actually wrote several songs over the years about that. There's a song called Hard Times off of a Kiss album called Dynasty, where he talks about it. And he also credits music for pretty much saving him, because once he got into playing guitar and music, he veered away from the whole gang life. And he said it was good that he did that, because a lot of the people that he was friends with at the time were either dead or in jail. Whereas at that point, he didn't really do anything more with the gang, because he had to go play with bands and he was practicing his guitar and things like that. So he said that music and guitar playing actually saved his life.
Nice. So, I mean, a couple of those songs in are gangster rock songs, so talk about the gang life. And growing up, he has that aura where he was a tough guy. He seemed like he'd be a good scrapper, right? And in fact, actually, if like young Kiss, they walk into a bar and you have a problem with them, and those 3 guys are fighting and they have each other's back, I feel like
that's one hell of a story.
That's the original Kiss Army right there. You wouldn't want to F with it. Because they're all
I would say, especially if you have outfits with studs and armor, and you also have 7-foot heels, right? That definitely is
they're a Mad Max gang.
Yeah.
It's like they can literally just destroy you.
Yeah, serious.
I was just looking up Detroit Rock City, the movie from 1999. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that was
the Kiss tribute band and trying to meet them, and he was in there. The whole band was.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yep.
Well, he was already used. The whole band was used to being on TV and doing special appearances anyway, so I'm sure that wasn't out of the realm of normality for him,
right?
To be in the movies.
Yeah, we got mostly comments on our streamers, no questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like Ace will pop up random around San Diego for a hot minute. Love the energy. So and people enjoyed the conversation, and so I appreciate it. I really enjoyed the conversation there, Greg. You know, we have an open invite whenever you want to talk music with us. Always a pleasure being able to catch up with you, whether you sound sick or not, which I thought your voice sounded fantastic, dude. So excellent insight, and congratulations yet again on a fantastic book. I love rock biographies. Would you call it rock? Is it a biography, or since you wrote it?
I say it's a tribute. How about that?
Okay, yeah. No, I think it serves as an excellent tribute. And the legacy, the life, and the memory, and you get to hear the stories straight from the man himself, and then everything else from everyone else who looked up to him. So Talk to Me, a conversation with Ace Frehley, available everywhere. Greg Prato. See, almost nailed that ending right there. Excellent again, my friend.
Great, thanks
for having me. We'll talk to you again soon. Of course.
Yes, thanks again for having me. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for us today, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Drive safe, ride safe.